The old house had been in Sophie's grandmother's family for generations. It was filled with antiques, heavy, dark furniture, overflowing bookshelves, globes and maps, and dozens of dusty portraits of stern-faced men and women whose eyes seemed to follow you around the room. But the most striking piece was the mirror in the upstairs bedroom. Its frame was carved with the twisting faces of ancient gods and vines that grew into strange, gnarled hands. The glass itself was slightly foggy, as if it remembered every shadow it had ever reflected. It was late, and Sophie was exhausted. She hadn't slept since the day before, so she went straight to bed without unpacking the boxes in the corner. But as she lay there in the darkness, she heard a noise, a dragging sound like metal on stone. Then she saw it. In the foggy depths of the mirror, she thought she saw something move behind her. She sat up and turned, but the room was empty. The next morning, she got up early and unpacked the boxes. As she hung a picture on the wall, she caught her reflection in the mirror. It was odd. Something about it seemed off, but she couldn't place her finger on it. She walked over to the mirror and stared at her reflection. Was that really her smiling faintly, or had she only imagined it? Had she finally lost it? After all, her grandmother had been a bit strange. Even the townspeople whispered about her. They said she kept to herself, spoke to animals, and talked about things no one could see. They also said she died suddenly, although no one knew how. Days passed, and the mirror became harder to ignore. Every time Sophie walked past, she noticed small inconsistencies between the reflection and reality. A book lying open in her reflection was closed in her hands. The smile on her face was a beat slower than the one on her reflection. Her shoulders were straight in the mirror, though slumped in real life. Once she even saw her reflection yawn, but she didn't remember yawning. And the creepiest thing, her reflection seemed to know when she was watching it. One evening, as Sophie brushed her hair, she caught her reflection smiling. But this time her lips didn't move. Sophie stared at the glass, her hand frozen halfway to her mouth. The smile widened, stretching unnaturally until she stumbled back and turned away. When she dared to look again, her reflection was normal. Breathing deeply, Sophie told herself it was just a trick of the light. She couldn't possibly be losing her mind. Not wanting to be alone with the mirror, she covered it with a bedsheet. That night, however, she heard the faint sound of fingernails scraping across glass, slow and deliberate, as if something inside wanted out. The noise continued until dawn. Unable to take it anymore, Sophie called her best friend Lisa to stay over. Together, they decided to uncover the mirror. Maybe Sophie's imagination was playing tricks. But when Lisa leaned against the bed to look into the mirror, her face drained of color. "Sophie," she whispered, "why is there someone standing behind us?" Before Sophie could react, the reflection changed. A woman wearing a long black dress stood right behind them, her eyes hollow, her grin impossibly wide. They spun around, but nothing was there. Lisa refused to spend another night in that house. Alone again, Sophie tried to focus on other things. She threw herself into cleaning and rearranging the furniture. 2 days later, she decided to get rid of the mirror. She dragged it to the basement, covered it with a blanket, and locked the door. That night, she dreamed she was standing inside the mirror's world. It was cold and dark and endless. Her reflection beckoned to her from the other side. "Switch places with me," the reflection whispered. When she woke up, she ran to the basement. The blanket lay crumpled on the floor, but the mirror was uncovered, and then she saw it. Her reflection stood in the basement, smiling at her. Sophie screamed and backed away, realizing with horror that she was staring at the basement from the other side of the mirror. Her own reflection waved at her and tapped gently on the glass. In the days that followed, Sophie didn't sleep. She paced the floor, she scratched at the glass, she begged her reflection to let her in, but her reflection only smiled and shook her head. Eventually, Sophie's cries quieted. The new owners of the house found her sitting in a chair upstairs, eyes vacant, staring into the mirror. Beside her was a diary detailing her descent into madness. They said it was such a shame. Such a beautiful house. Such an interesting story. They didn't believe a word of it. They said it was just an old house with a bit of a creepy mirror, but sometimes if you look closely, you can see a woman inside, silently screaming for help.